Have you ever wondered why Gen 1's designs were so simplistic, at least in retrospect? Well, Pokémon was inspired by Satoshi Tajiri's childhood passion for bug and critter collecting. So, most of the original 151 were modeled after wildlife you can encounter in the real world. You have your reptiles, amphibians, bugs, rodents, marine animals, bats, cats, dogs, foxes, flora, fungi, and miscellaneous mammalians, some ambiguous, some not. You even get cool rocks and fossils. But here's the thing. Depending on where you live, you might not ever randomly stumble upon a frog, or a cool fish, or a bunny fox cat dog, or a squirrel. Yes, Pikachu is based on a squirrel. But there's one type of animal you're bound to see every time you go outside. Unless you live under a rock, in the desert, on the moon. Birds. They're everywhere. You can't even go to Antarctica without encountering them. It's no surprise that birds are a Pokémon staple too then. It's highly likely that you use at least one in your party in every playthrough. Most games introduce you to the regional birds quite early, sometimes even on the very first route you explore. They're relatively easy to catch and train, and in early gen games they could carry you through the various bug-infested woods you were made to traverse. If you chose the water starter, they were also a beast against your rival, or any grass gyms or trainers you had to beat. And, most importantly, the flying type, which most, but not all, Birdmons are, serves as fast travel in these games. Bird Pokémon are also some of the most iconic in the anime, and I think they have some of the best and coolest designs in the whole franchise. But outside of Pokémon, I just really love birds, man, what can I say? And I always have, at least since I was 3 and first discovered the absolute masterpiece, that is Pingu. So, since I love birds and I'm currently hyperfixating on them, and I love Pokémon and I'm currently hyperfixating on it, and Pokémon has very prominent and very cool birds, why not attempt a birds-only Pokémon run? As the title implies, that's exactly what I'm going to do. But before we jump into the gameplay, let's quickly go over the plan. There are 5 rules. Number 1, and most importantly, I can only use bird Pokémon in battle, not counting the starter since the first rival battle is obligatory, but I will throw that match as you will soon see. Number 2. Any Pokémon that anatomically resembles a bird, either in part or as a whole, counts as a bird for this playthrough. If it looks like a bird, then it's a bird. Keep in mind that flying does not equal bird, and this is not a monotype run. Number 3. I can use non-bird Pokémon outside of battle, but only to overcome roadblocks if need be. I cannot train them or use them to influence battles in any way. Also, birds take priority, so if I can use one to overcome said roadblocks, then I must. Number 4. There are 2 goals. The first is to beat the Elite Four and become the Kanto champion with a party of birds and only birds. The second is to acquire all of the birds available in the game, including the post-game. And number 5, this is not a Nuzlocke, and I am not limiting mechanics or strategies I can use, like legendaries, healing items, or even overleveling. This is just for fun, I'm not trying to prove anything, and I don't hate myself. That said, no glitches, no exploits, and no trades. I chose FireRed for a few reasons. It's got a great selection of birds to choose from and to use, slightly more than Leaf Green by the way, which was ultimately the decider. But I guess I'm also just feeling nostalgic, and since I haven't played a Kanto game in a long time, I figured it would be fun to revisit the region. It's also going to present a little bit of a challenge. I am immediately going to struggle considering the first gym is a rock one. Then, later on, Surge will be a problem too. There's also Lorelei, but by then I should have a solid plan and a solid team in place. Of course, the birds will also have the advantage every now and then, most notably with Erica and possibly Giovanni. But I'm anticipating that for most of this run, my birds are gonna be pretty neutral. Most importantly, Kanto has the legendary birds. So, it just felt appropriate. Now, with all of that out of the way, my very own Pokémon adventure is about to unfold. I've always preferred Leaf's design to Red's, so I choose to be a girl for this run. I name myself well, Kelly. And then I name my idiotic rival H5N1 after bird flu. With everything set up, I play some NES, withdraw the free potion, watch TV, and say hi to my mom before exploring the town. Now, I know that you don't have to do that, but like I said, it's been a while since I've played a Kanto game, so I figured I might as well. After speaking to everyone, I head for the grass, only for Professor Oak to scold me, which really makes me wonder about the dystopian hell that is Pallet Town. There's no school, no commerce, no medical services, there's only 2 houses and a lab, and yet the 10 or 11-year-old characters have never set foot in the grass leading out of the town before? Also, in a world inhabited by Pokémon, they've never had one, not even as a pet? But anyway, I follow Oak back to his lab and I choose Squirtle, forcing H5N1 to take Bulbasaur, who will be no match for my future Birbs. Then that obligatory rival battle I mentioned begins, and like I said, I have to throw the match. The only thing I can think to do is spam Tail Whip. It only dawned on me afterwards that I could have just hit run to waste turns without actually influencing the battle. 10 seconds in and I've already broken one of the rules. Whoops! But in my defense, I don't think it counts. Tail Whip did lower Bulbasaur's defense, but since I didn't attack Bulbasaur at all, it had no effect on the battle's outcome. So I'm gonna let it slide. So I lose the first rival battle. I'm pretty sure that's the first and only time I've ever experienced that. H5N1 gloats, and then Professor Oak, the same man who thought I was too inexperienced and naive to walk in the grass, shames me for my loss. Moving on, I head out, avoiding or running from wild encounters on the way. I find a free potion, and I also encounter the very first Burb of the playthrough. But I have to run from it because I don't have Pokeballs yet. I make it to Viridian City, explore the town and speak to the locals, and then head to the Pokemart to collect Oak's package. Then I take the shortcut back to Pallet Town and deliver the goods, only for Oak to tell me that I must be a talented trainer. I can't imagine why. I lost my one and only battle, and I've ignored my Squirtle ever since. H5N1 shows up again, and I finally acquire the Pokedex and some Pokeballs. So I get the town map and immediately head into the grass to catch me a Burb. Or not. No. Stop that! Seriously? Oh my god. Stop! Finally. Sheesh. I immediately throw a ball at it. I mean, it is the only thing I can do, and besides, it's a level 3 Pidgey. It's not like it's going to break out and waste my Pokeballs or anything. Seriously? Let's try that again. That's more like it. The Pokedex tells me Pidgey does not like to fight. It hides in tall grass and so on, foraging for food such as small bugs. Since Pidgey is the first member of what will henceforth be known as the Flying Squad, not all of them will be flying type, but just run with it, okay? I name her Air Force One. And now, my birds-only playthrough can truly begin. But to keep things as consistent with a standard playthrough, I want to train Air Force One up to level 6, or the level your starter should be at when you first defeat your rival. So, before I head beyond Viridian City, it's back into the grass to grind.
Right, I'll tell you what, you fat little cunt.
So, yeah, Air Force One's first battle didn't go so well. So I go home to rest and try again. This time I knock out a Rattata, and then... oh my god! So I go home to rest again and attempt the grind a third time. But the faux Pidgey outspeeds me and gets a crit, so for the third time in a row, Air Force 1 goes down.
This is beyond embarrassing. Wait a minute.
I'm starting to think that this playthrough is going to be a little bit more challenging than I originally anticipated. Eventually, Air Force 1 knocks out a level 2 Pidgey and grows to level 4, which gives me a slight advantage and makes the grind a little easier. In no time, Air Force 1 grows to level 6, so I embark on my journey, training as usual on the way. The rest of the journey is without incident. Air Force 1 levels up to 7, and when I arrive in Viridian City again, the first thing I do is deposit Squirtle. I thought of releasing Squirtle, but I figured maybe later in the playthrough he might come in handy as an HM user, so we'll see. Now that all of that is out of the way, I can finally get a move on. So I talk to more locals, I am subjected to the catching tutorial, I acquire the Teachy TV I can assure you I am never going to use, and I meet another Birb. I also stock up on some more potions and Pokeballs, and then I head to Route 22 to try to find a Spearow, and also to grind. Spearow isn't impossible to find on Route 22, but it only has a 10% encounter rate. You can also find it on Route 3 at a 35% encounter rate, and at various other locations scattered around Kanto. So, after one too many Rattata, I give up and decide to just move on to Pewter City. Of course, I have to cross Viridian Forest to get there, but considering it's full of bugs, it should be easy breezy lemon squeezy, right? Air Force 1 easily grows to level 8, then she gets poisoned, but I have an antidote I found on the ground, so it's fine, until she gets poisoned again and faints before I can even make it out of the forest. I panic, drop 64 Pokédollars, white out, and return to Viridian City. You know, this playthrough is off to an impeccable start. It's going so well. While I'm back in the city, I stock up on antidotes, and remembering that Pikachu is also a Viridian encounter, I spend some money on Paralyze heals just in case. Back in the forest, Air Force 1 grows to level 9 and learns Gust. Now, armed with a flying type move, she sweeps through the wild encounters and the bug catcher trainer battles along the way. She gets quick attack at level 13 and then levels up to 14. So, I make it to Pewter City, where I visit the Pokémon Center and announce that I am a cool department store. I don't know why, I just felt silly in the moment, I guess. I explore the town and meet some locals, and then I am led to the Pewter City Gym, the first real hurdle in this run. See, Brock is a rock specialist, and rock is strong against flying. While not all Birdmons are flying type, like I said, the only two I can currently access are Pidgey and the Spearow on Route 22. Neither learn any super effective moves against rock, except for Pidgey's Sand Attack, which is ground type, but it's not an offensive move. This quite literally puts me between a rock and a hard place, so how will I work around it? Well, there is a TM for Seismic Toss, a super effective fighting move, right inside the Pewter Museum of Science, but you can't access it until you acquire the HM for Cut, and anyway, neither Pidgey nor Spearow can learn it. So my only other options are to either massively overlevel Air Force 1 so she'll be able to withstand Onyx's rock tombs, or to catch a Spearow and hope the two of them can brute force it. Since overleveling would require a crap ton of grinding and would also make the rest of this playthrough significantly less fun, I pick the latter, and head all the way back to Route 22 to catch me a Spearow for backup. I totally forgot that there's a rival battle there, but I wipe the floor with H5N1, and then, as if he were summoned, Spearow is the first encounter I stumble upon. I don't want to risk accidentally knocking him out, so I throw a ball without attacking, and unlike some other Pokémon I know, he stays in it. Yay! The Pokédex tells me Spearow busily flits around here and there. Even if they're frail, they can be tough foes who use Mirror Move. Since I came to get him to tag Team Brock's gym, I name him Wingman. But he's only level 5, so it's back to the grind. After at least 5,050,000 Rattata encounters, I get Wingman up to level 10 and figure it's enough to at least take on Brock's gym trainer, who has a level 10 Geodude and a level 11 Sandshrew. So, choosing to test the waters, I head to the Pewter Gym. I knew I was going to have a tough time and that a loss was pretty much inevitable, but I was still caught off guard by how ineffective every single one of my offensive moves actually are.
Oh my god.
Even though Air Force 1 is 4 levels higher than Wingman, she doesn't make much of a difference. So, in an attempt to gauge just how tricky this is going to be, and also to see how long I can last just out of curiosity, I choose to at least try to whittle the rock Pokemon down. I use a lot of growls and sand attacks to reduce potential harm, and I also use a couple of leers too to force Geodude to use Defense Curl instead of attacking me. And after many turns, and thanks to a well-timed crit or 3, I actually managed to take Geodude down, but not without taking significant knocks myself. Air Force 1 also grows to level 15. Sandshrew is nowhere near as much of a problem being ground type, though I did have to heal up in between. Wingman took him down by himself actually, but the experience he gained was just short of pushing him to level 11. After healing at the Pokémon Center, I figure, what the heck, let's see how much damage Brock can actually do. Again, just to gauge how big of a pickle I find myself in. So, I return to the gym and take him on, without grinding or leveling up in between. It goes about as well as you'd expect.
Bruh.
At this point, I know my only option is to grind and overlevel both of my Birbs, or to at least evolve Spearow into Fearow for some extra bulk and the boosted stats. But here's the thing, I'm lazy, so I figure training against Brock's Geodude would go much faster and be way more effective than hunting wild Rattata. So, I go back for round 2. It also goes about as well as you'd expect. Still, Spearow levels up, and this time I actually got to move against Onix. I looked into it, and it turns out that Brock's Onix only uses Rock Tomb if it's outsped. So, as long as your mons or moves are slower than it, it's guaranteed to never use it. I do not have the technical knowledge or skill to apply this as a strategy at all, but at least I have a better understanding of how this battle is going to go down and how I could go about beating this thing. So, I spend the last of my money on an extra potion and head back for round 3. As you'd imagine, it's more of the same.
Bruh.
At this point, I was pretty tired, like physically exhausted, but I figure one last round just to get a little bit more training in won't hurt. So I head back for round 4 before I call it a day. This time, Geodude does a number on Wingman, so I have to use one of Air Force 1's turns to bring him back to the green. But other than that, using the same strategy of spamming sand attacks and growls, the Geodude was thrown off enough that it didn't really get any hits on Air Force 1. She took him down slowly and steadily, and then leveled up to 16. On to Onix. My strategy here was to hope that Leer didn't actually outspeed the Onix, so that I could at least reduce its defense for more damage if I got to hit it. This way, so long as I was slower than it, I could maybe whittle it down just as I did with Geodude. But I was wrong. Wingman outsped, so Onyx rock-tombed. And then I remembered something very important I hadn't considered at all when I was weighing up my options. Sheer dumb luck. No way. I attempted to growl its attack down, but Onyx got Wingman before I could. So, Air Force One takes over and spams as many sand attacks as she can muster once Onyx is as disoriented as possible. I use one last potion for good measure. Fortunately, Air Force One's Gust doesn't outspeed and does more damage thanks to Wingman's Leer. So, with a little bit of luck, I actually managed to take Onyx down and beat the Pewter Gym with just 2 little birds. So, Brock gives me the Boulder Badge, 1,400 Poké Dollars, and TM39, Rock Tomb. I can now also use Flash outside of battle. I visit the Pokémon Center one more time, and then I leave it there. I honestly thought that defeating the Pewter Gym was going to be way more of a slog. But I'd say only 4 attempts with nothing but a level 16 Pidgey and a level 11 Spearow isn't too shabby. I mean, it's not great, but it's not too shabby. I'll take it. But let's not get too excited. I can't place my finger on it, but I'm getting the feeling it's all gonna be uphill from here. Hey you, thanks for watching my silly little video. I greatly appreciate it. Did you know that the word amateur originally meant to do something for the love of it and not as a profession? It was never meant to imply inexperience or naivety or incompetence. It just meant that you did whatever you did out of passion. I watch a ton of gaming content on YouTube, with emphasis on Stardew Valley and Pokemon, of course. And creating content like this is something that I've always wanted to do, but that I've always held myself back from, because I guess I just wasn't confident enough and felt like I didn't have anything to offer this community, considering the caliber of content that's out there. Also, I don't have good equipment, I can't keep up with the new games, I don't have a capture card, my internet isn't good enough to actually stream gameplay, so I figured that I was much better off as an observer than a creator. But considering all of the discourse surrounding generative AI, I am now in what I have been calling my bad art era, where the goal is to not make art that is excellent, but rather to just make art. The art that I want to make, the art that I have prevented myself from making or sharing or even enjoying because I didn't feel like it was good enough to actually matter. This is why the drawings in this video are so wonky. I drew every single one of them by hand, and I am not an artist, so don't mind my wonky little avatar there, but I just wanted to assure you I did not use Gen AI to make it. I love planning and scripting the videos, I love filming them or putting them together like this one, I love editing the videos, I love telling my story, I just really love video content as a storytelling medium, but I am very much amateur. It would be great if one day I could monetize all of the efforts that I put into it, but I do understand that that's far away. That said, I am in a bit of a situation financially, and I am trying to get to a point where I can monetize the content that I make. So, if you enjoyed this video, or if you care about what happens to these Birbs next, or if you're just interested in retro and cozy gaming with emphasis on Pokemon and Stardew, consider dropping a like, subscribing, and leaving a comment for me. I understand that people don't like it when content creators beg for engagement and attention, but it really would help my cause, and it would mean so very much to me. Also, if you have any ideas on how I should approach Surge, please let me know. Anyway, that's all for now, so if you'll excuse me, I have Rattata-related trauma to resolve. Have a good one, guys. See you next time.